Bike Shop Radio is a podcast that originates from 718 Cyclery in Brooklyn, New York. My name is Joan Osela, former architect and owner of 718 Cyclery. We will discuss modern retail trends, the bike industry, and life in and around our vibrant shop. We focus on content and interest, not recording technology and slick editing. Our stories might happen in our loud shop, on the louder streets of Brooklyn, or out in the country on a bike camping trip. There might be sirens or Van Halen in the background, so be prepared. Thank you for taking the time to listen this far. I hope we can entertain you for the remainder of the episode. In today's episode, I'm interviewed by Giro, a website that we use to rent gear and bike equipment. Then it's back to school. We listen in on one of our many classes that we teach here at 718 Cyclery. After that, it's a review of our new Hotsauce, followed closely by a discussion about an article regarding the best Van Halen songs of all time. That segues into a conversation about movies, specifically movies we've seen twice, 2 nights in a row at the theater. And finally, we end with Ask 718, where we talk a little bit about the construction that goes on in front of our shop. Okay, so here we go. Here's an interview that was taped for a company called Giro. Giro.com is the website that we use to rent bikes and adventure cycling equipment. You can find it on our website, 718c.com/rent, and you'll get linked into Bike Gear to Go, which is our entity that rents bikes and gear, things for camping trips.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the interview. Am I looking at you? Am I looking at the camera? What am I doing?
You can look at me.
Okay.
Yeah. So can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Joan Osela. I'm the owner of 718 Cyclery here in Brooklyn.
Okay. So tell me about yourself. Where are you from and what do you do now?
I'm from New York City. Initially, our parents moved to Westchester when I was a kid. I was an architect for 20 years in Manhattan, and little by little got more and more involved in bikes and opened up the shop about 10 years ago. And we're here in Brooklyn. I live nearby, and we've been here for 10 years.
Cool. So that kind of goes into our second question. Can you tell me more about the history of 718 Cyclery?
Sure. 718 is started, I had a bike stolen out of my front yard 10 years ago. I had some friends convince me to build my own bike, and I did, and I really liked the process. And for me, I always wanted to be an architect, and architects always have this left brain and right brain thing going on. Mm-hmm. I like science and math and physics and design and art and all those things, and that's a typical architect. The architecture that I was involved in just took too long. I was at really big firms. Airports were done in like 12 years. It's like, oh, not 12 years. That's a long time. So what happened with bikes, it was unconscious or subconscious. I got into bikes, and I liked the process. There's a lot of left brain, right brain stuff. You're done right away. You're done within a couple hours. You've finished a bike. You're affecting people's fitness and health. You're affecting pollution. You're affecting traffic congestion. You're affecting the environment really quickly. So that's kind of, again, I didn't know it at the time, but that's when I drifted into bikes. That's why I liked it so much, was just the parallels to what I really wanted to do was architecture, but it afforded me the way to kind of control my own destiny and do it in a much more meaningful way, in a much more immediate way. So
how much of architecture do you do today?
Zero point. Yeah, I still have my license. I every once in a while I get called into a meeting from an old firm that has some questions about, bike design. I think that I might be the only registered architect and bike shop owner in New York City. So the Venn diagram is real small there. So I get pulled in every once in a while for consulting work, but it's infrequent. But a lot of what I've learned as an architect translates really, really well to what we do as a bike shop. There's tons of projects. There's lots of different scales. Everything that comes in, I tell the employees that we need to understand the scope of what we're doing, the time frame of what we're doing, and the budget. Like those 3 things on every single service project that comes in. And initially they all laughed and thought that sounded like corporate speak and architecture speak, but I'll tell you, it really helps you understand projects at many different scales. So I think that architectural education and then working professionally has, really trains you to really I know multitasking is kind of like a buzzword and kind of a cliche, but, architects, there's no other profession that multitasks more than the definition of architecture is multitasking. So that prepared me very well for being able to work my way through, opening up a business and running a business for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. So what's your favorite thing about running your own bike shop?
the people, the employees, and the people that walk in the door. Certainly I get paid a lot less than I used to in terms of what I used to do as a professional, but I'm a lot happier. And the interactions with people all day long is just, the people that are in the bike world. Cyclists tend to be, a little more conscious of the environment. They tend to be a little more, diverse in their thoughts. Those tend to be the people that are riding bikes tend to be similar to the people that I like to talk to and people that I like to interact with, open-minded, diverse. So that's it's the people that I like the most about being in the cycling industry.
Have you had any really memorable experiences with a customer or someone who came into your shop?
Yeah, it's hard to say. We were talking yesterday about that question, and it's been a blur, blur of I can't think of one thing. We have celebrities come in, and that's always kind of fun.
Really, who?
Ethan Hawke comes in a bunch. He gets his bike stolen every year. Maggie Gyllenhaal's been here, John Cera, Robert Pattinson, the guy from the werewolf movies. People come in, and it's not like they come in all the time, and it's not like there's an entourage. Actually, there is a highlight. This is a total highlight. They shot an episode of Law and Order here. This is maybe 6 years ago. It was a whole scene they shot in here with Ice-T, and they had they arrested some lowlife that worked in a bike shop, of course. But they took over the shop for the whole day. They really broke the shop down. They changed the lighting. They installed all these cameras. They gave us $5,000 to not be in business for a day, which was great. But we got to watch a scene of a Law and Order SVU kind of get shot, and it was on TV maybe 3 weeks later. And it's called the name of the episode is called Strange Beauty. If you ever look up the Law and Order episode, it's pretty funny. It's actually a pretty funny scene. But we got to meet the crew and get great pictures with Ice-T and just really nice. They were just so nice. I'm sure they get asked to get pictures taken all the time and they don't have to say yes. But that was definitely a memorable experience, was that episode. When I think back now, I totally forgot about that. So yeah,
that's so cool.
It was funny. We did a lot of commercials. There was a time when we were doing a lot of American Express and Verizon and all kinds of crazy commercials that were shot in the shop as as a backdrop or whatever. So
how did they find your shop?
There was a documentary made about us about 6 or 7 years ago. It's on Vimeo, and it has maybe 500,000 views. It's pretty nuts.
Wow.
This filmmaker came in, and he was starting a company about a filmmaking company, and wanted to make a little documentary about us in exchange for a bike. And the bike was a $500 bike or $1,000 bike, but it was beautifully done. It was cool music and kind of a little blurry focus, the whole artisan kind of thing, because we do a lot of project work here and we are a unique shop in what we do. And this video just took off like wildfire. Even today, sometimes it'll get hundreds of views a day, and this was 6 or 7 years ago. It keeps showing up on design blogs and it keeps attracting attention. It's still pretty valid, but through that, I think a lot of location people saw that and kind of we had really, when that video was really hit, or when it was viral, we had a lot of comments about, or a lot of people contacting us about that.
Let's see. What is one thing that surprised you the most about running your own business?
How hard it is. How hard it is to have so many people relying on you, my employees and my family. We make decisions all day long, and there are some good decisions made and there's some bad decisions made, and we talk about in the shop, just making more good decisions than bad decisions, and we'll kind of stay ahead of the game. And I think we've done that. The bike industry is really, really messed up. It's really, with online sales and the whole, world of brick and mortar retail kind of disappearing and all those kinds of things. There's lots of challenges. So a lot of these challenges kind of really, really started focusing maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So we already had been in business for a while. So the ability to kind of roll with the punches and to kind of see the retail landscape and see the bike industry landscape and try to project what the shop will look like in a year or 2 years, that's always a challenge for anybody, really. But yeah, the day-to-day of, it's 14-hour days, it's weekends, it's summers, and it's the time you want to spend with your family is the time that the shop is the most busiest. So you're kind of taken away from your family. But yeah, the relentless kind of march of being responsible for everyone that works here and all the, this is their income, right? So it has to be provided. And my family also, we have to, be able to live and eat. So there's a lot of people that are relying on the decisions that we make. So that's the big, I didn't realize how impactful every single decision that we make could be for people down the road. So There's no way to train for that or go to school for that. You just have to kind of do it. So we've tried to do it the right way. And, 10 years we're in business, so far so good.
So how do you make time for your family, and like what kind of things do you like to do?
Well, making time for the family is more about me being able to let go and me being able to we have the best mechanics and the best staff in New York City by far. And these are folks that work here that have been with me for a while that, are looking for the opportunity to kind of take things on. And for me, I've always been kind of a micromanager. I like doing payroll. I like doing, I don't like cleaning the bathroom, but I do all these things because I like, keeping this business going. So from top to bottom, I'm always doing it. So, trying to extract myself out of some of those things to not be so caught up in the day-to-day, to kind of be able to step back and think about more strategy, because we have some incredible employees that can handle all the day-to-day things that we do. So being able to step back and, be able to leave on at a normal hour, being able to take a day off to be home with my family, those are things that are happening more and more. My kids are getting older. They're getting ready to, my son's 17, my daughter's 13, getting ready to go to college. So this time is fleeting. So you really want to make sure that, when you look back on it, who cares about the bike shop really? You care about your family. So we like to spend time together. My son plays lacrosse. I played lacrosse all through college. So I like watching him play lacrosse. My daughter's a great artist. So I like working with her on her art and seeing what she's doing. So it's kind of what we do as a family. We don't go apple picking together. It's not that kind of suburban family, but we exist and we enjoy each other's company. So that's probably the best way to put it. So
That's great. And I guess just the last question, what is one piece of advice you could give to anyone?
To anyone?
Anyone.
A business owner or a cyclist or just any piece of advice, be true to yourself, really don't try to be someone you're not. And I think that in the end, translating that to how the shop works, we all just decided to, over the years, just kind of be who we are. We're not incredibly polished. We're not super salespeople. We're not slick, but we're honest. And I think in the end, that gets you further than anything else, because in the end, that's really all you have is who you are. So that sounds kind of corny, but just really, really being yourself and really just embracing who you are and your flaws, and realizing that no one's perfect. And just really embracing yourself is probably the best thing that I could tell someone, but I'm in no position to give people advice.
Okay, thank you so much.
One of the most mission critical things that we do here at 718 are our classes. We teach free classes every Thursday night. Those are maintenance classes. We also do a full suite of women's programming. We do classes regarding or revolving around our trips and our tours and orientations and things like that. And we've been doing them for about 10 years. Basically the history of our existence. They are incredibly important to what we do. It's a great way to bring the community in and show them what we do. And it's a great way to interact with customers. We do it for free, and we've always done it for free, and that's a pretty important piece of this, and I'll tell you why. Other shops kind of would complain, or not complain, but let us, hey, you should charge, you shouldn't give it away, you should charge money. So I often think about that. It's all right, so we had 10 people come in, and, maybe I charge them $10 for a class. I don't need $10. I don't need $100. Basically what I get is the next day after that free class, that person goes to work and tells their friend about the shop, and they'll say something like, hey, I went to this great place last night. You got to check it out. And I often think about when your friends tell you about a restaurant or a bar or even a movie that you'll like. When your friend tells you, hey, you got to check out this movie, or hey, you have to check out this bar, you're going to check it out because your friend knows you really well. That peer-to-peer marketing is the holy grail of marketing. I mean, Johnson & Johnson would love me to tell you how awesome Tide Pods are. I don't know if they make Tide Pods or not. I'm just guessing. But if I'm telling you how great Tide Pods are, and I know you, and you know me, and you trust me, you'll probably use Tide Pods. Well, that's the connection that we're looking for with our classes, where someone at work or, with a friend will say, you got to check this place out. These guys do this, these guys do that. I know you'll love going there. You got to check them out. That peer-to-peer marketing and that peer-to-peer connection, I mean, that's worth thousands of dollars. Can you put a price tag on that? Or, we want $10, So in our minds, we kind of forego that short or that easy money, I guess, of classes and go for the bigger picture, which is community building. And so far, it's worked incredibly well. We teach classes if there's just one person here. We teach classes if there's 50 people here. We teach, it's a big part of what we do. It's scheduled into our work schedule. We know that we're teaching class Thursday night in addition to the other classes that we teach. So we have some audio here of Aaron teaching a class a few days ago. This class had about 8 or 9 people in it. It was a pretty lively discussion. And, we were able to really connect with some new people in the community that we hadn't met before that have become good friends already. So we'll listen in on Aaron's teaching technique.
Right. Let's say you have to choose between getting hit by a car or running over like a broken bottle. Whoa. So you know what I mean? Like, in a situation, you see a broken bottle on the road, you don't want to run it over, but you also don't want to be hit by a vehicle. So you're bracing and you're like, oh, I hope I don't get flat. Is there something that you should keep in mind while riding? Like,
try to take like the weight off the front, but like taking the weight off the front like adds to the weight in the back. Like you're not actually like your gravity's still pulling you down.
I've never gotten a flat tire. I just learned how to ride a bike recently. So when I think of a flat tire, I think of the car, like in a scene where someone like shoots their wheel and they start spinning out of control.
Oh, yeah,
like
right.
if I get a flat tire on the bike,
It's far less dramatic usually. It's pretty. It's like you wake up in the morning and your tire's flat in front of your apartment. It's like that sucks. There's never an explosion. There's never an explosion.
You're
Or
just gonna feel it.
yeah.
Okay, so it's not like a dramatic.
Not
like,
really. It could be a little bit more dramatic, but
Could be-
typically you don't crash.
Could be.
Okay.
There's one thing you can do though. Glass in particular, if it gets stuck in the tire, you might just be able to remove it before it causes a flat. Because it's all those times rolling over and driving it deeper. There used to be something you could get for a bike that was just a little piece of wire on a string that would rub on the tire. And so it's always rubbing, but it just takes the pieces of glass that aren't in all the way yet and it pops them out. And so you can check if you think you ran over something. Otherwise, you just have to brace.
Of course, now that you've said that, you're gonna go outside and get one. You're gonna get a flat.
About never getting a flat.
No, I only
Thank you,
I
bud.
only just.
Well, it's more that the.
To make it safe. They're promising you a safe range of pressure. And so then how low you can go depends on your weight, basically. If you're heavy and it's a smaller tire, heavy being relative, right, and the size of the tire also, then there's a point where it's just not enough air to keep it from getting pinch wedged from just compressing and kind of bobbing too much. And so then you add more pressure. But if that's not happening, you can release some and kind of see what happens.
Yeah. I usually just go max.
Yeah, a lot of times people go max. I'd say that for tires like 28 millimeters and down, just go to the maximum. If it's above that, then you might have some room to try seeing if lower pressure is actually more comfortable or not. But if you have a smaller tire, then just go to the max.
Yeah.
What happens if you go above the max?
Yeah.
Go with someone else.
We don't know what happens here because we've never tried it.
Ever.
I just imagine the wheel just go.
Yeah, I guess it's just, the manufacturer is probably saying it's not safe after that. They're responsible at some level for providing you with a good tire, so they have to tell you how not to abuse it, I guess. I'd imagine that means you could actually go to twice the max and it'd still be okay, but I don't know. Most pumps don't go that high.
In terms of like riding in the rain, do you recommend like pumping a bit of air out?
I don't know. You could do that. It certainly might give you a bigger
more
contact
adherence.
patch with the ground, so I don't see why not. If you have big enough tires to lose some pressure, then yeah, you should.
Do you have to clean it and use anything after riding it in the rain or if it's sitting in the rain?
Not really. Like sometimes the rain definitely will cause a lot of stuff to get sprayed up onto the bike that wouldn't otherwise. And so if you've been cleaning it regularly, you might expect a heavier clean next time after it rains. But that's about it, really.
After it rains, we see a lot of flat tires, and usually there's a lot of stuff washed into the street, and also because the stuff is kind of lubricated and wet, it kind of slides into the tire easily. So it's a huge uptick, and like after it rains, we'll get a ton of people coming with flat tires.
I'm most concerned the rain is breaking.
It's breaking.
That's what this brakes are.
Yeah, that's where disc brakes really shine. I don't know what the numbers are, but they'll tell you it takes longer to stop in the rain.
So how was the class?
No,
That's it. Those are the questions. Was it?
Wait, is that a microphone?
Yeah.
Is it recording right now?
Yeah.
Don't put that on the podcast.
Yeah, don't.
Thank you.
What?
What I just asked.
Oh, I didn't hear what you said. I didn't.
Oh, no, just asking stupid questions about the microphone.
Oh, no. This is not about making anyone look stupid. It's about making us all look awesome.
Yeah.
It was pretty stellar. It was very technical.
Pretty technical? Okay, good.
Yeah, I like that you could ask a lot of questions as you went, and like he has a very soothing voice.
Did you find
it's
him
easy to follow.
on a scale of like surly to nice? Where would you put Aaron's?
Oh, can they be like parallel?
He can be surly and nice at the same time. Soothing. Surly and nice equals soothing. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming. Yeah, these are a big part of what we do in the process. So.
Yeah, it was really good. I wasn't planning on coming to the rest of them, but I'm now planning on coming.
Yeah,
to the
right.
rest of them.
Cool.
Thank
all right,
you.
guys. Well, that's all I got. Yeah. Good night. At 718, we're always trying out some new ideas. The latest idea we've come up with, or actually stolen from Chris at Topanga Creek, is to get some branded hot sauce in the shop, because what bike shop doesn't need to sell hot sauce? Anyway, here's a brief review of our first tasting. If you want to pick some up, 718c.com, you'll find it. All right, here it is. All right, today's a special day. We're unveiling the new 718 Hot Adventure Sauce. Aaron here is going to try it. Gonna open it up.
Okay, well, the first thing I noticed when I pick up the sauce is the bottle. Clear 718 logo on the front.
This is kind of like an unboxing
photograph
recording
of some individuals on
you're
touring
on
bikes.
that. I think you're on that.
I think I'm one of them. It's me on the right. Anyhow, the nutrition facts, clear, is easy to read, so nothing to worry about there.
Do you have to shake
Safety
it?
seal comes off easily. This Joe is going to remind me to shake it up. Here, that's sauce now. First, we'll start testing the mechanics.
You put a little bit on your
area.
wrist and test it like a wine tester.
Yeah. If it burns the skin on the back of your hand, then it's too spicy.
Ah.
Okay.
So Aaron did a test on his wrist. As customary,
cayenne.
it's a customary hot sauce tasting technique is put some on your wrist and then lick it off.
Wow, okay. Yep, you can taste the cayenne. I'm going to go easy on this.
Yeah.
All right, here's the taste.
All right. I'm warning you, the hot sauce has been sprayed onto potatoes and cheese. And it's good.
It's good. It's
All right.
official.
That's a wrap.
I'll take a case.
Nice.
Yeah.
When was The Simpsons when they had the 5-alarm chili and Homer eats it and he's like, 1, 2, wait a minute, what's the big idea? He's like, I thought I was going to be a big man. Daddy, are you going to go to jail? Remember that episode?
Like, maybe, son.
5-alarm chili, eh? 1, 2. Hey, what the big idea?
Oh, I admit it. It's only 2 alarm. 2.5 tops. I just wanted to be a big man in front of the kids.
Daddy, are you going to jail?
We'll see, son. We'll see.
That's the dog dangling afternoon episode. That's a phrase that me and Chambo, I used a lot with a friend at work for days that were just dreary and never ending. Dog dangling afternoon where he's holding the frisbee and Santa's little helper's hanging off the end. But me and Chambo use that a lot. But that's the same episode where he smells the chili. Yeah. And then he goes off and does the Spirit Quest, right?
Yeah, the Soulmate episode, yeah.
That's the great one where I think Johnny Cash and then whatchamacallit, the Otto has the great line where it's like, oh, he knows what he's doing. And Homer runs off into the distance. Let him go. He knows what he's doing. Check out our online store at 718c.com. For the next week, use the promo code letters BSRE and the number 3. So that's Bike Shop Radio episode 3. BSRE3 for 20% off our online store for the next week.
To make a solo record, they left themselves. I think that was the issue.
Dave was within his right to make a solo record, though.
No, in the book that the manager wrote, he was saying that Dave wanted to do all that corny Broadway type shit and just a gigolo and all that. And Eddie was violently opposed to this because Eddie was the serious musician. So that was the battle. That was the Lennon and McCartney style battle in Van Halen.
Right. And who won? I mean, we all lost.
Who won? Well, Dave
we all
was
lost.
planning his solo record on the side the whole time, and yeah, then it just imploded, you know. Eddie didn't want to be a cartoon, and you got to respect that. But then they hired Sammy Hagar, so they became one anyway.
Yeah.
And not a good cartoon, like a really bad one. Did you look at that ranking of the songs?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I found it pretty. I didn't look at all of them, but I found the ones that I liked.
Okay.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
This is Pitchfork. Vulture. What was it?
It was Vulture. Yeah.
Top 200 or top Van Halen songs.
Yeah,
of
or
all
you ranked
time.
every Van Halen song.
Yeah.
That's really hard to do. Like I've always wanted to do that with I could do Hall & Oates probably. I could rank all
There's a
500
lot.
songs.
I don't know how you would. Would you start with them all on an index card on a table and just start pushing them around?
No,
right. You
here's
have to.
Well, yeah. I guess you could do that like Post-its on a wall. Like people write like a screenplay. It's like,
Right.
You kind of weigh what's good and what's bad. And what they say about those lists is, you don't. Is it personal taste or is it what the best song
Right.
is?
Like I remember
Or
the summer of
shit,
'83, and we
that's-
listened to Unchained, so that's the best Van Halen song
Right,
ever.
right.
Is that valid?
Or is it an artistic
Right.
decision? Because they did this. There's a guy. I don't remember his name. He writes for I think Chicago Reader or whatever. He's done Michael Jackson. He's done the Beatles, and he was saying that he doesn't really rate them in terms of which songs are his favorites. It's more like song quality and like kind of pushing it in that direction. That's hard to do though, because how do you pull your personal
Right.
Your personal
I think we
taste
need to
out
get
of
this
it?
list out and go over it and record what we're doing with this list. So
Yeah.
maybe that's the next part of this little thing. Maybe this
Yeah, we
afternoon
could-
we'll print
we
that
could
list
do
out
that.
and we can talk further.
Yeah, we could do that.
I'm
Because
probably
I
pretty,
think it would be worth it to get your insights on it.
Yeah.
because-
I kind of stop at a certain point in Van Halen, and I really have no. It's like when there were when there were two popes in Avignon in Rome. I mean, you
Right.
believe in one or the other. I
Right.
chose to believe that Van Halen died in 1985, and that's kind of it.
And that's the thing. I think that's legit. I think there are people.
And nothing bad about Sammy. I like Sammy Hagar. I like him as a person. I would apparently probably like him as a person. As a
Yeah.
musician, whatever. Seems to be having a good time. Seems to be a smart
But I
business
think
guy.
if it's like
He didn't ruin it.
you might not love your stepmother as much as your mother. You know what I mean? She might be cool and shit, but it's just like
But I
it
don't
might
blame
not be
Sammy
cool.
implicitly for any of that. He was brought in,
No.
and that was who he was, and they became the band focused around that, and
Right.
that's kind of. And people can, and there are people that actually like that version of the band better.
Right, but
than the first version.
they're idiots. So.
It's hard to imagine. As we were talking earlier, there's this great list out now by Chuck Klosterman, who writes for Vulture, that basically it's 131 Van Halen songs ranked from worst to best. There's a pretty good 2 or 3 page introduction. But the best part about this introduction is he writes, pretty much anyone who's seen the video for Panama views the band as idealized avatars for a euphoric, consequence-free, hyper-intoxicated lifestyle that A, could only exist in Southern California, B, could never exist today, and C, probably never existed at all unless you were a member of this specific band. So this list has 131 songs, and it goes through the David Lee Roth era, and it goes through the Sammy Hagar era. So I'm going to talk about, or just take a look at the top 10 songs and see if I agree. Not that it means anything to me, but we saw this list, and you can find this list online. It's pretty awesome. But number 1 is Eruption, and man, oh man, I got to agree with that. I mean, Eruption is unlike anything that anyone had ever heard at the time, and it's still absolutely amazing. Number 2 was actually one of my favorites, which is Unchained. Unchained was on Fair Warning in 1981, but my recollection is about 1983 or 82. The high school basketball team where I went to high school, when they came out on the court, all the lights went down, and Unchained came on, and they came out and did their, the lights came on, and they did their big layup, warm-ups and stuff, but the opening chords of Unchained will be ingrained in my DNA and passed along to my grandkids. Going through the list, it's a really cool list. One of my favorites, my favorite Van Halen song of all time, actually shows up at here it is. So number 39. This is my favorite Van Halen song for a couple weird reasons. Number 39 is the song is "Light Up the Sky," and it was on Van Halen 2. And it's kind of a crazy song. It's hard to understand what the lyrics are about. It's hard to decipher them even when you see the lyrics written on paper to understand what the song is about. The bass line in it is unbelievable. And a couple years ago on YouTube, I saw kind of an isolated, like a kid just doing the bass line of this song. And man, oh man, if you can find that on YouTube and watch what happens on the bass on this song, you'll love the song forever. It's amazing. But the description in this particular write-up about the song is equally kind of bizarre. So Light Up the Sky, number 39, a Van Halen 2 infomercial for increased phalanx dexterity. This track artfully toggles between subtle moments of softness and full-on AstroTurf shred. The words are about wolves and fireworks and watching TV, more impressionistic than narrative, and hard to understand, much less interpret. So yeah, if you get a chance to look at this list, it's great. It does incorporate a lot of Sammy Hagar stuff, which is fine by me. Again, I consider Van Halen in two parts. I like the first version. They kind of, to me, again, died in about 1985. However, I like Sammy Hagar a lot. I think he's, he wasn't the one that kind of ruined the band. I think other folks kind of ruined that band. However, it's a great list, and it really just encapsulates a huge swath of history of Van Halen. All right, so we're going to talk about movies that we've seen 2 nights in a row, and Hope has a good Star Trek story.
No, Star Trek, actually, that's not my story. That was just...
Aaron, have you ever seen a movie 2 nights in a row? Like in the theater?
No.
Really?
We'll go back to work then. We don't need you. This is not part of come up with a good story. Make something up. Urban Cowboy. That's all question.
When Purple Rain, the record, came out, I loved Prince, and I was so excited. The record came out before the movie did, and so I was set. And so when the movie opened, me and my friends like, oh yeah, we're gonna go see it, and we had to drive to the next town and everything. And the movie itself, I felt like I bonded with Prince, like I knew him. So the acting in it was really bad, and people were laughing at him. And I remember sitting there going, I can't believe they're laughing at him. I was offended on his behalf. But I loved that movie so much that after I saw it with my friends, yeah, that was good, huh? Yeah, it was good. I literally went back the next day to see it by myself because I had to see Purple Rain again.
Oh my gosh.
That was almost the... I think that was the only time that...
You felt bad for Prince.
I felt bad for Prince because people were... I loved him so much that I didn't want anyone else to be critical of him. The very first scene in the movie, anybody who's seen the movie, okay, so Apollonia, she sneaks in the club and she sees him on stage performing. He's doing Let's Go Crazy, and she's so awed by his performance, right? And anyway, at some point, then the time comes on, right? Mars Day. And she feels his Prince's presence behind her, they're standing in the audience. He's got these big giant fly sunglasses on. And by fly, I mean big and round. I don't mean yo, he was fly.
Cool,
he was fly, but still. So the second he kind of appeared behind her, and he's really short and everything, the whole audience started laughing. And I thought, why are they laughing at Prince, man? He's just trying, And that's when she turned around to say that she liked his performance too, and then he was gone.
Whoa.
And then the other scene where everybody was laughing was his father was hurting his mother, and Prince came in the house, and he comes flouncing in his heels. He's leave her alone, motherfucker, whatever he was saying. But it was just, he was so kind of, I guess, feminine looking. The whole audience just
the way that you would imagine Prince breaking up a domestic disturbance.
Yeah, and I felt like I didn't laugh because I knew Prince meant it, and I didn't think it was appropriate for everyone to laugh.
Right.
So, yeah, I felt really protective of him.
So we're talking about movies that you've seen 2 nights in a row. And Hope was talking about Purple Rain, 2 nights in a row. The movie that I saw 2 nights in a row, there are 2 of them. One is Grease with my family in the 78 or 70, whenever that came out.
I don't know why we went back to the same movie theater and saw it again.
You went back as a family?
The whole
to see it
family,
again?
all 4 of us.
Really?
Twice. In 2 nights.
And you don't remember why?
I don't remember
That's
why.
super unusual.
The second, and this is a lot more embarrassing, is that I saw Airplane 2 2 nights in a row, and it was merely because of a group of friends that went and saw it, and then another group of friends went to see it the next night, and of course, other movie theater stories I remember. One is running out of Young Frankenstein. My parents brought me to Young Frankenstein, and I was horrified and fearful that it was a real monster movie, and I was 6 or 7, and I ran out of the theater because I saw monsters. Another miscommunication was my parents brought me to see Woodstock, and I thought it was going to be Snoopy and Woodstock and cartoons, and was very dismayed that it was a bunch of hippies like swimming in lakes naked.
Hippies.
Yeah, that was the other one. And the third strange movie theater story was waiting in line for Rocky 3. Me and my friends got right to the front of the line, and it was sold out. That was the Dolph Lundgren.
Right.
No, yeah, Rocky 3. No, Rocky 3 was Mr. T. Rocky 4 was the Dolph Lundgren, the Russian one, and it was Rocky 4 that we got turned away because it was the lines were so big to see Rocky 4.
Oh, that's so sad. I had a crying episode too, which was my father had taken my brother and I just to the movies, and the movie was this Western with Paul Newman called The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean. All right, now we were children. I didn't know anything about this movie. So we're sitting in the theater, and the very first scene is this really, I guess it was kind of this old beat down cabin, was this really large woman getting bathed in a tub by somebody else. And for some reason, I lost it. It terrified me to see this big woman in this bathtub.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, we have to leave. So we all had to leave. So whenever I think of that movie, it just upset me as a child to see some lady a big lady in a bathtub.
Have you seen the movie since?
No. And the other one, my brother and I had this experience together. There was a horror movie called Frogs with Ray Milland in the early 70s. We had the babysitter. My mom went out. Babysitter came. She's like, guys, we're going to go up to the theater uptown, okay? Because there was some guy she liked there. So she was in the lobby flirting with this guy, and she sat my brother and I down, whatever we were, 5, 6 years old, in this R-rated movie, Frogs, this horror movie. And it, to this day, completely traumatized me. There's a scene where this woman falls into the swamp. She's covered with leeches, and then there's a really horrible scene at the end where Ray Milland's sitting there in his wheelchair and there's frogs everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
And so after the movie, I just remember being completely upset and rattled by it. But the fact that she just sat us in there, my mom had no idea.
That's a classic.
To this day, my brother and I talk about going to see Frogs, which I recommend. It's really terrible. Sam Elliott's in it though, and it's just a good,
a lot of rubber
good
frogs.
bad 70s horror movie. Probably a lot less gruesome than I remember, but that's really messed up. When you do that to kids, they remember that stuff. What's that Western movie with Jodie Foster and Mel Gibson? Do you remember this? We have to see what it was called. This is great. This has never happened to me in the theater before. So it was I think it's from, we're going to find the name of it here.
Jodie Foster and who?
And Mel Gibson.
Ooh.
Maverick, 1994. So
yeah.
Went to this movie because at that time we were always going to these blockbuster movies as a group.
And you put Jodie Foster and Mel Gibson, that equals Blockbuster in 1994.
Really, a really believable love story there. So the movie wasn't that good, and about 10 minutes, I guess, or so, we're heading into the big climactic scene, and all of a sudden and we thought this was part of the movie, the film starts to burn on the screen.
Yeah.
Literally, just at the film, little things right? And the screen goes white. And everybody's kind of, what happened? I think the film committed suicide. But so we never saw the end of that movie.
So to this day, you don't know how Maverick ended?
Yeah. And
Wikipedia, let's look it up. Let's find it.
All these years later, still not curious about how it ended.
Most people, like, adoptive kids trying to find their parents. There's like that.
Any other movie, if you'd been watching like Pulp Fiction or something, like you'd be like, oh no, what happened? This is just like,
oh well.
It was literally, we saw flame. It was
That's awesome. It's time for Ask 718, where you email us your questions and we try to answer them. We've got our first question. Again, if you want to email us a question, you can go to www.bikeshopradio.com and fill out a little form and ask us a question. If we read your question on the podcast, you'll get a Bike Shop Radio patch. If you just send us a question and we don't read it, we'll probably send you some stickers. So our first question is from Tyler W., formerly of Brooklyn, currently of Washington, D.C. And Tyler asks, how much longer is the construction going to last outside of your shop? Well, Tyler, that's a great question. We've had construction outside of our shop for the last 6 years. If you follow us on Instagram, you'll know what I mean. We've been told construction will end at the end of this calendar year, which is 2018. I've been told that for the last 3 years in a row. Looking outside right now, I see construction dudes. I see orange traffic cones and orange traffic barrels and cranes getting staged to dig up the next hole they need to dig. As a background, there was some construction projects down here that just took too long and are uncoordinated and all kinds of stuff. So in the end, Tyler, I'm not sure of the answer to your question, but hopefully it'll end very soon. Thanks for your question, Tyler, and we'll put a patch in the mail to you right away. And for anyone that wants to know what 6 years of construction sounds like, here's a little snippet. Well, that's it. Our third episode is in the books. Thanks for listening. It was so much fun to put together. Again, check out our online shop at 718c.com. Also, check out our Facebook page, Bike Shop Radio. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you very soon.